Still to come on the NewsHour tonight, a deadly bacteria, a Gergen dialogue, and sprawling America. Elizabeth Bracket of WTTW Chicago has the bacteria story.
Last winter, Jack Kenard of Memphis watched his wife die from the Listeria bacteria.
I've never heard of Listeria. Then we had no idea what it was until the doctor came and told us that it was caused by eating meat products or cheese or dairy.
Kenard was one of 21 people who died last winter from the country's deadliest Listeria outbreak. 100 others became ill. A rare bacteria, Listeria kills about 25% of the 1,100 who get it yearly. By contrast, Salmonella kills 3% of its victims. The 1992 E. coli outbreak only killed 4 of the 732 who were infected. Pregnant women and young children are at high risk for succumbing to Listeria. So too are the elderly, says Dr. Michael Threlkeld, who diagnosed another Memphis victim, Helen Bodner.
Individuals that are at high risk, and again, that's the elderly, individuals with immune system defects, even treated as best you possibly can, still have a significant mortality. In a given individual, why one person dies and another person doesn't is not always well understood.
The Listeria Kenard and Bodner got was traced to the Ballpark hot dog brand, made in this plant in southwestern Michigan, owned by the Sara Lee Company. Listeria has been found in other plants this year. 30 million pounds of meat was recalled from this Thornapple Valley plant in Arkansas. There have been 6 other recalls of meat, 1 of milk, and just today a cheese recall. But Dr. Pamela Diaz says Listeria is not confined to the food industry.
It's found in the soil, found on plants, found in animals, found in humans. So it's a very, very ubiquitous organism, and because of that, it is also probably very hardy because of the fact that it is surrounding us at all times.
Those conditions make it difficult for the industry to combat it, according to American meat industry spokesperson Sarah Lilygren.
You can keep your plant as clean as possible and it can still sneak in. I mean, we have companies that actually cook their equipment to 160 degrees as a last-ditch effort to try and destroy the bacteria. It can live in the threads of screws and in all kinds of little places that you wouldn't even imagine.
Lilygren says the bacteria can sneak into the product before it is packaged.
The challenge is after the product is cooked in a plant, but before the product is put in the package in the plant. There is a period of time during which the product is handled or transported. Sometimes the product is sliced. And so there's a brief period of time when that cooked product that contains no bacteria because it's been cooked thoroughly is exposed to the air. And that's the time when the Listeria can sneak in, if you will. And then the product is sealed in the package and nobody knows.
Although it is not yet known how to get rid of all Listeria, investigators at the Center for Disease Control in Atlanta have made significant progress in tracing it to its source in order to contain outbreaks. When the women in Memphis died, Dr. Robert Tauxe led the CDC's investigation. He had the help of a new tool, DNA fingerprinting.
There is this fingerprinting method, which is to take the DNA of the bacteria that has been isolated from the sick person and to basically cut it into small pieces and to compare the size and length of those small pieces in a way that is really very similar to the kind of DNA fingerprinting that's done on drops of blood at a crime scene.
The testing begins at labs like this one at the Illinois Public Health Department. First, bacteria is isolated from the product. If Listeria is found after a 48-hour incubation period, it is then analyzed by computer.
So we just convert it and send that directly to CDC, and then they can analyze it on their computer.
The information is then sent to the CDC through a new system called PulseNet, which was activated fully for the first time during the deadly Listeria outbreak.
Our power in our investigations come when we find that there is a repeat offender, if you will, that there is an infection that is caused by the same strain in a number of different people. Then we say, aha, There must be something in common amongst all these people.
After a common strain was found, survivors were interviewed for a common source, which turned out to be the ballpark hot dogs. A recall was issued, and the plant stopped producing the Frankfurters. A lawsuit followed, with attorney Kenneth Mall alleging that the conditions in the plant in Michigan were to blame.
It was clear one part of the plant was unlike the other side of the plant. It was like night and day. It looked almost like a storage room or a garage, but it was totally different than the rest of the plant, and that's where they made the ballpark Franks, the hot dog part of the plant. The ceilings were too low. There were shared airways. Right near the hot dog plant is what's called the inedible pit. And this is all the bad meat, the outdated meat, meat that fell on the ground, meat that was moldy or came in, it was too old meat. That same room shared the same airways as the room where they packaged the meat.
Sara Lee has not responded publicly to those charges, but the company has reopened the turkey breast processing line at the Michigan plant using a new procedure, reheating the meat after it is packaged.
As far as we know, this germ cannot get into a package after the package is sealed. So we think in-package pasteurization will really help. And there are two main ways to do that, either with heat or with irradiation.
But the government thinks more needs to be done. Yesterday, the U.S. Department of Agriculture held a press conference to tell meat packaging plants they have 30 days to find better ways to prevent listeria from contaminating their products. They also urged companies to do environmental and product testing.
The bottom line is that we expect all plants producing ready-to-eat products to have steps in place to prevent contamination or recontamination of products.
The USDA also launched an education campaign on the internet and in print, warning those at risk to thoroughly reheat processed meats and to avoid soft cheeses. The USDA also will gather data to decide if warning labels on packages might be necessary, a move favored by consumer groups.